Hello and welcome to lesson 67 of the Learning Guitar series. In this lesson we're going to discuss some harmony theory related to melodic minor, and then we're going to start looking at the arpeggios for minor major 7 and extend on those once we understand a bit the theory behind how we construct them. And the harmony theory we're going to study is going to open the door for lessons to come on melodic minor chords, melodic minor modes, which is going to be very, very interesting, of course. And of course, it explains why, the moment we extend the minor major 7 arpeggio, like we're going to do today, we're going to add a 9, and 11, and 13, and he's going to explain why. The lesson is going to be broken up eventually in 2 parts regarding harmony theory and exercises. And as always, it comes with, especially in this case, a lot of PDF material in terms of exercises and, you can do in order to simulate the material. It's 2 parts just not to make this lesson 2 hours long. Before I start, I would like to thank the few Patreon supporters who are kind of supporting this project. It's not many of you, but you're really making this possible, and it's great that I can put together this massive project in which we talk about the language of the guitar in a very neutral way without kind of imposing a genre on you. Anyway, let's keep going. Melodic minor, we're done at this point. The last 5 lessons, they were dedicated to the 5 shapes of the actual scale. So now you should have it all across the neck of the guitar, and intervallic status and double stops. So it's time to look at the arpeggios. In order to do so, we need to look at some harmony theory first, and how we construct, basically, how we harmonize the melodic minor scale in order to derive the entire modal system. And in this case, we're going to look at the first degree of melodic minor, which is melodic minor, and the extensions, embellishments, etc. So let's have a look. I'm going to explain you how it's done, and of course there is a PDF I'll show you to you later, which actually details the entire thing. As we have done with the major modes, the way we construct, the way we harmonize a scale. This is our melodic minor scale. I wrote it in the key. I wrote it in G. So here is the root note, 2nd, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, major 7, and those are the intervals of a melodic minor, and we know that. I use F sharp here. Could have used G flat? I guess because I play a lot of jazz, I just prefer F sharp. I know that maybe it's not academically correct, but it's the same note. I don't care. It doesn't matter. And this is what we call an horizontal structure. Now let's look at the vertical structure, which, as we know, is the related arpeggio. And we construct it by simply stacking interval of thirds. In this case, from G, basically I'm skipping a note and I'm playing B flat. I'm going to write it here. Then I'm skipping a note and I'm going to play D, and I write it here. Skip a note, I'm going to play F sharp, and I'm going to write it there. From F sharp, skipping a note, which would be G in the 2nd octave, playing an A. From A, skip a note, I'm going to play a C. From C, skip a note, I'm going to play an E. And then from E, skip a note, I'm back to G. Basically, what I want you to understand is that these are exactly the same notes of the scale, just in a different order. That's why we call this an horizontal structure, because it's scalic, and this is a vertical structure because it's an arpeggio. Now, if we look at the intervals in a different order, we're going to look at them now, because obviously B flat related to G is a flat 3, and we know that. We know it also from here, obviously. D is the 5th. F sharp is the major 7. A is the 2, but because we are in the 2nd octave, now we're calling it a 9. C is the 4, and since we are in the 2nd octave, we call it an 11. And E is a 6, and in 2nd octave, we call it 13. And this is basically the vertical structure, but this is telling you us a few things. Now that we look at it, we look at the melodic minor as a vertical thing. The first 3 notes is spelling a minor chord. Fair enough. So we know that the melodic minor scale can be applied to a minor chord, and that if we extend the minor chord, if we extend the triads, now we're adding a major 7. Hence, the basic arpeggio would be minor major 7. So far, so good. But this is also telling us that we can extend it even farther with embellishments, and in this case, we can add a 9, so create a minor major 9 arpeggio, a minor major 11, a minor major 13. And, if I can do it as an arpeggio, I can do it as a chord. That's why I was saying this is opening up the door to, arpeggio studies when it comes to melodic minor, but also chordal studies, which we're going to look in from lesson 69 onward. But now let's look at the second note of the scale. And if I do the same process of skip a note, basically stacking an interval of thirds. From A, I have C. From C, I have E. From E, I have G. From G, I have B flat. From B flat, I have D. From D, I have F sharp. Now, if I look at, and again, these are, the same notes of the scale, just in a different order. But if I look now at this chord, and this we're going to call chord number 2, and when we look at the modes, this is going to be Dorian flat 2. That's the name it takes. But if I look at the intervals, all these intervals related to the A note this time, from A to C, the interval is a flat 3. From A to E, the interval is a 5. Oops. And again, there you go. I don't know why I did the capital letters though. Well, doesn't matter. From A to G is a flat 7. From A to B flat is a flat 9, which is basically like a flat 2. From A to D is an 11. And from A to F sharp, the interval is a 13. So as you will find out soon when we're in the harmonization of the melodic minor, chord number 1 is a minor major 7 chord. Chord number 2 is literally a minor 7 chord. That if we extend farther than the extended triads, now has a flat 9. If you think about it, this is the same as a Dorian chord, but instead of having a normal 9, it's got a flat 9 or a flat 2. And that's why we call it Dorian flat 2. I could do the same process for each chord, so like starting from the B flat, skip a note, and I have D, etc., and then look at all the intervals. And it would take a little bit of time just to do it manually. And that's the reason why I actually prepared the chart for that the people on Patreon can literally download. And here it is, harmonization of melodic minor scale. I did it in G. This applies to any key, as you can see in the chart. At some point I gave you some more general rules. Here is the first degree, second degree. This is, basically the rest of the chart filled in with the relative intervals. Here is the resulting chords that we had the moment we harmonize. The word harmonization, in a way, should already suggest you chords. The first degree is minor. This is a minor triad. This is G minor as a chord. The second degree, A, C, E, in this case, 1 flat 3 5, that's minor. The third degree, 1 3 sharp 5. Now I have an augmented chord. In this case, B flat augmented as a triad. The fourth chord, 1 3 5, is dominant 7. Here it is. In this case, C7, right? And if I extend it to the flat 7, obviously, for as long as I say 1 3 5, it's just major. Chord number 5, 1 3 5, again, is just major. Chord number 6 is going to be diminished because it's 1 flat 3 flat 5, and chord number 7 is going to be 1 flat 3 flat 5 too. The moment I extend the triad and add a major 7 or a minor 7. Chord number 1 is a minor major 7, chord number 2 is a minor 7, chord number 3 is a major 7 sharp 5, chord number 4 is going to be dominant, chord number 5 is going to be dominant, chord number 6 is half diminished, and chord number 7 is half diminished. And I can go even farther. Instead of just extending it to the major 7, I can extend it all the way to the 13. So every arpeggio and every chord is made up of 7 notes. In which case, this is what the chord name, in a way, would be. It gets rather academically. Plus, at least when you think in terms of guitar, we have 6 strings, and even if you have 7 strings, I mean, it's difficult to play all these 7 notes at the same time. Piano player instead have a much easier life because they have 10 fingers. So as a general rule, when it comes to melodic minor, the harmonization of melodic minor, we have chord number 1 is minor, minor, augmented, major, major, diminished, diminished, if it's only triads. If we are harmonizing the extended triad, minor, major 7, minor, major 7 sharp 5, dominant 7, half diminished. And these are the names that the various modes are going to take. Melodic minor, Dorian flat 2 is the one I was showing before, then Lydian augmented, Lydian dominant, etc. Particularly important, I mean, they're all nice sounding. Of course, melodic minor is what we looked at so far, and we're going to continue looking at basically the first degree of the modes. Lydian dominant, Lydian augmented, they're all both going to be kind of important. especially D and dominant when it comes to dominant 7 chords, and super low-end, obviously, if you're into jazz, it's got a lot of applications in that department. Nevertheless, at the moment we're still dealing with the first degree, but as you noticed, this little bit of harmony and theory is already opening up the door to what arpeggios I can create, and of course at some point what chords. Because, don't forget that what we're looking at is 3 sides of the same coin. So far we've done melodic minor scale, and now we'll have our arpeggios, and now we'll have chords, depending on if you are the person soloing or if you're the person comping for somebody else. Nevertheless, I'm going to show you in a second the arpeggio studies that I created. There's quite a few PDFs, and I'm going to show you how to practice them, as always. First thing, again, we need to understand is, okay, I'm going to do... So, by the way, this particular lesson is quite dense in terms of PDF, because in terms of arpeggios, we're doing all five shapes, when, the entire cage system in a couple of lessons. Actually, we're going to cover the entire system already in this lesson. The next one is going to have more exercises that you can apply, but already now you're going to cover a lot of ground. I'm going to show you everything in the key of E, the PDF, the key in the shape of E. In the PDF, you'll find exercises for all the other shapes. Again, I'm trying to keep this lesson not 2 hours long. In the shape of E, so E minor, we looked at this particular scale so far. Of course, we haven't done the chords yet, but the minor major 7 chord might be this, for example. That's the sound of it. And in fact, if I freeze it, and in this case, what we're going to start doing is we're going to start looking at the arpeggios. For this on Patreon, you'll have 2 PDFs. One is just the diagrams that shows you basically the minor major 7, only the minor major 7 arpeggio applied to the cage system. So it's the same thing that as we looked before. You see here that there is some white dots sometimes. What they indicate is just an alternative fingering. So I'll give you an example. When we did Dorian, the cage system arpeggio, you had 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7, 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7, 1. And have a look at the way the fingers are moving. In a way, it's a bit like almost as there was a barré here. Now, when we're moving the flat 7 to a major 7, because that's the only difference that there is in between, a minor 7 Dorian and a minor major 7 for melodic minor. There's one note difference. If I played 1, flat 3, 5, major 7, 1, flat 3, 5. If I use the same approach I was using before, my major 7 in the cage kind of system is actually here. So if I'm like this, I would find myself doing this kind of thing, which really doesn't work. So one way to do it would be using 2 different fingers here and then pivot, right? But at the same time, and that's the reason for the alternative kind of fingering for that note, the major 7 is also here. It's the same note. That's the white dot you see in the diagram. So if I want to kind of keep the same finger, almost the same finger pattern as minor 7, I can just do this. Of course, I'm stretching 2 tones instead of being, it's gonna be this. But you might find it more comfortable than that. Oh. I added the flat 3 on top. So that should explain you the reason why, say in this occasion or in this occasion, you might find alternative fingering. For the major 7 mainly, that's pretty much what's moving. And in a way you can take, hopefully you've done all minor 7 arpeggios when it came to Dorian, hopefully. Because if you have, in a way, all you're doing, you're changing a note. You're just changing the flat 7 to a major 7. That's pretty much it. So say the shape of D minor, right? I'm sure you remember it. And you add this for minor 7. flat 7 is here, pretty much. That's the first one. So instead of having this, you would have this. That's the other one. And this is the other flat 7. So from here, if we move here, now you have this. Yeah. It's a nice sounding arpeggio. So here you have the 5 shapes as you know, as for the cage system. This is the second one I was just playing you. And more importantly, you have this PDF. Let me find it here. Now these are shape of E minor arpeggios, shape of D minor arpeggios, shape of C minor, shape of A minor, shape of G minor. As you can see, in terms of arpeggio forms, there are not that many. And the reason being, first of all, if you remember, we did this also when we did the major modes. We're studying them from the root. So we are taking advantage of everything that we have from the root within each cage, so that you all can also train your ears at the same time. So you have here G minor major 7, G minor major 9, G minor major 11, G minor major 13, and the harmony theory before should tell you why it's 11 and why it's 13 and not, I don't know, sharp 11, flat 13, etc. This is G minor major 13 also. This is G minor major 7, the second octave, G minor major 9, the second octave, because in the shape of E minor we can have 2 octaves of it. G minor major 7, 2 octaves, G minor major 9, 2 octaves. Here we have the harmonized melodic minor arpeggio, and I'll show you in a minute what it means. And here is the G minor major 7, the cage system. So like the cage system is basically these 2 bars, which you want to repeat as an exercise, is basically the equivalent of this. Now, how you practice these arpeggios? I mean, it's kind of simple. The methodology is the same that we used when we were studying major modes and major 7 arpeggios, etc. Say we start from minor major 7, and by the way, not all the arpeggios that I can derive from the melodic minor are detailed in the PDF. I'll explain you why. Say, given the scale is 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, major 7, 8. You can have an arpeggio which is minor 6, 9. So like 1, flat 3, 5, 6, 9. Right? The reason I didn't include it is because actually as an arpeggio you already did it when we did Dorian. So I kind of skipped all the arpeggios at an interior you're already done. Okay? I only included the one that contained the major 7, because the major 7 is the only difference really compared to Dorian or Aeolian or Phrygian, etc. When we do the rest of the modes, you'll see what I mean by that. So we're going to start from minor major 7, even the triad itself, 1, flat 3, 5, no point, you've already done that. Hopefully, you've done that. So minor major 7, of course, do it to a metronome at the speed that that you're comfortable with, and play it, say, just ascending to a metronome. So maybe do it 4 times, and then you move it up a semitone. Tell yourself that this is A flat, A. Do it 4 times, maybe like in this case, I'm just doing it once, but etc. Go up the neck, go back down the neck. Then take the same arpeggio and play it backwards. A flat, A, B flat. That's the way. Make sure that you look at the guitar, tell yourself what you're playing, don't just do it pedantically, right? And then at some point play it alternated, so descending and ascending, so you can descend maybe. Etc. Do this for each individual arpeggio. So basically this is an exercise on its own, this is an exercise on its own, this is an exercise on its own. Another way you can do this is by playing them in a sequence. So maybe you do, let's say you do 4 times minor major 7, then you do minor major 9, then minor major 11. I'll show you what I mean. So maybe you do it this 4 times. And then at some point after the 4th time you add the 9th. So now it's minor major 9. Minor major 11. Minor major 13. Minor major 13. With the extra octave, this is also minor major 13. So that way you kind of, this second way of practicing, you might start visualizing differences and the positions of the various intervals. Now let's have a look at the harmonization, harmonized melodic minor arpeggio. All that means is that I'm going to take the minor major 13 arpeggio and play it in group of 4 notes, starting from the root. In the second part of this lesson, where we're going to look again at harmony and theory, I'm going to literally spell the chords that comes out of this. Because when I play this, which is basically like the harmonization that I just showed you on the PDF, the first extended triads I'm playing, obviously in this case, is G melodic minor. But when I play you this is actually B flat augmented, B flat, augmented with a major 7. The third arpeggio is going to look like this, and that's like a D7, and then you have F sharp half diminished, and then A minor. But as I said, this is more of the theoretical side, and it's, when the day we manage to start talking about chord substitutions, this is the kind of stuff that is going to come handy for that kind of discussion. For the moment, let's focus on all the material at the end. As I said, without having to go through the entire PDF, what I showed is this. When it comes to the shape of D minor, it's the same kind of exercises. Here, the harmonization, here's the caged, shape of C minor, shape of A minor, shape of G minor. Okay, and that's the approach you have to it. Okay, you have the arpeggios, the various arpeggios, which by now you should also be able to understand, and and the resulting exercise and cage system. Then at some point we move to exercises. These exercises are applied to the cage system. In this case, it's the group of 3. What that means is basically I have my basic caged arpeggio, which in this case would be 2 octaves of minor major 7, 1 flat 3 5 major 7, 1 flat 3 5 major 7, 1. Okay, or like I said before, so you have this kind of double finger. Group of 3 simply means I'm going to play group of 3 notes at a time. So 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. You can add the flat 3 on top of it if you want. And pretty much all that's all there is to it. And it's a good practice, obviously. And if you look at the PDF, obviously you have details in 5 shapes as always. Group of 4, same thing. This time you have obviously group of 4 notes. So 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4. It's hard today to do a video with a cold, I must admit. So this video is going to have a lot of cuts here and there for me, to sneeze, etc. If we continue with the PDF, now you have the melodic minor scales using triads. What that means is that the melodic minor that we've done so far, this, contains a lot of triads within it. And again, it will make even more sense when you understand better the harmony and theory of it. But if you think about it, if I start playing melodic minor using triads, what you're going to get, in this case, I'm literally going to start from G. So you're going to have a G triad, a G minor triad, A minor triad, B flat augmented triad, C major triad, D major triad, E diminished triad, F sharp diminished triad. They are all actually contained in the scale. Here is your first minor triad, second minor triad, augmented triad, so B flat augmented in this case, major triad, diminished triad, back to a minor triad. So as an exercise, you literally want to perform it, just to get used to it. Here is the triad performed all the way up up all the way like in 2 octaves, and then backwards. Not going to be more complicated than that. And you have the usual 5 shapes for it. Next exercise is going to be still using triads, but in this case you're going to use extended triads. And extended triads is basically something like either the major 7 or the minor 7. As we've seen from the harmony in theory, now what we're looking at, if I start from G, is a G minor, major 7, then the second chord is going to be A minor in our case, third chord is going to be a major 7 sharp 5, dominant 7, half diminished, half diminished. So in this case, our life is a little bit easier because, in the shape of E minor, we're starting from G, so you can actually understand that kind of sequencing that I just showed you on the PDF easily. Of course, in the cage system, we're not always starting from the root. So, like, say, if you take the shape of D minor at the end of the day, this exercise is going to start from chord number 2, as a matter of fact. It's going to start from the A minor 7 arpeggio. Anyway, extended triads, you will have, okay, minor, major 7, that's the first one. Minor 7, major 7 sharp 5, dominant 7, half diminished, and then you're back to minor major 7. And those are very interesting exercises because in a way you are starting to hear the chords which are contained in the scale. And as I said, I cannot stress this enough. If you're doing this in G, these are the chords, right? Of course, like if you move to more general rule, the moment you move everything a semitone up, now you'll have A flat, B flat, B, C sharp, or D flat, E flat, F half diminished, and G half diminished. If we continue with the PDF, so you have, again, the same disharmonization using extended triads, melodic minor using extended triads in all 5 shapes. And this is going to keep you busy for 3 weeks and more, already that. I hope it makes sense what we're doing. Of course, all the PDFs are available to the Patreon supporters. Thank you again for supporting this project. I hope that the harmony in theory connected to it is clear enough. But anyway, I'm sure that the PDF chart is going to help you navigating some of the questions you might have. And of course, if you have any questions, you can always ask me directly. Just send me a message. While we're at it, I'd also like to thank the few people who are kind of following and supporting this project on YouTube. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. And, well, next time we're going to continue with the harmony in theory connected to melodic minor. And we're going to start developing chords and do some more exercises with regards to what we can do with arpeggios. It's been a pleasure always. Thank you.